The third game, the Symbiote. The remaining survivors, perhaps 50 now, were ushered into a dark, dripping maintenance bay. The air hung heavy with the reek of oil and decay. 5 figures clad in pink coveralls. The last of the pink soldiers distributed equipment. Each survivor received a bulky metal collar fused with a pulsing bioluminescent sac that emitted a sickly greenish light. The collars felt cold and slimy against the skin, and Jimin instinctively tried to pull away from hers. Game 3. The Symbiote. The soldier intoned, his voice echoing in the vast space. These collars track your vital signs. It's your goal. Survive the night within the rig. But the collars also attract the hunters. They hunger for the light. And the life it signifies. Run, hide, pray. Daylight brings safety. Failed to return by dawn. ... Eliminated. The soldier gestured to the dark recesses of the room with his energy pistol. And then the lights went out, plunging the bay into near total darkness, broken only by the sickly green pulse of the collars. Immediately, the sounds began. Not the groans of metal or the distant screams of the last game, but wet scrapes, heavy, dragging footsteps, and a new sound. A low, resonant clicking like chitinous claws on steel, seeming to come from everywhere at once. Jimin pressed herself into a crevice behind a stack of corroded pipes. From the corner of her eye, she saw a man panic. His collar pulsed faster, brighter. Then a shadow detached itself from the ceiling. A creature like a malformed spindly crab the size of a large dog, but with too many jointed legs and a lamprey-like mouth ringed with needle teeth. It dropped silently onto the man, who screamed and thrashed. His desperate flailing only lasted a few seconds before the creature enveloped his head. The green light of his collar flickered wildly before being snuffed out. There was a moment of silence, broken only by the drip of water and the distant scrape of something heavy dragging itself closer. Fear lent speed to Jimin's movements as she slipped further into the shadows. Behind her, she heard another snap, followed by a wet slurp and the distinct sound of something crunching on dry metal. Whatever had taken the man had done so cleanly, efficiently. No struggle, no cries, just a quick snap and then silence. She found herself in a vast cavernous space, the metal floor slick with a film of oily water. In the distance, more figures stirred, their collars pulsing like beacons in the dark. One of the women she'd seen earlier, her hair matted and streaked with grime, pressed herself against a wall, her breathing shallow and quick. Her collar emitted a low pulse, a steady metronome marking time in the suffocating darkness. But even here, in this relative openness, there was nowhere to hide. Nowhere to escape the things that lurked in the black depths of the rig. Something scuttled past overhead, its passage marked by a clicking scrape. Jimin flinched, pressing herself flat against the cold, grimy metal. The sound grew louder, closer, and then she saw it detach itself from the darkness above. It was vaguely humanoid in shape, all sharp angles and impossibly thin limbs that dripped with water. Its head was a mass of tangled limbs ending in a gaping maws lined with needle-sharp teeth. But what truly stole her breath was its eyes. 2 orbs that burned with an unnatural predatory intelligence in the dark. It regarded her with cold, unblinking stare, its gaze a physical sensation like fire on her skin. She wanted to scream, to run, but her limbs felt leaden, her voice caught in her throat. The creature twitched one of its many limbs, a gesture that seemed to convey impatience. And then it was gone, melting back into the darkness from which it came. Jimin remained frozen in place, her heart a trapped bird beating against her ribs until the scraping sounds faded into the distance. Only when she heard other noises, gasps, and shouts, and the clatter of metal on metal did she begin to move again. The rig was a labyrinth of darkness, a rusted, decaying metal world filled with unseen dangers. Through the dim glow of her collar, she saw a vast cavern filled with a black, viscous sludge. The air hung heavy with the stench of rot. And in the oily depths, she saw shapes, writhe, vast. Tentacle-like appendages reaching and grasping at nothing, dragging themselves closer. Driven by instinct, she scrambled over a heap of debris, narrowly avoiding a gush of black, oily water. Something stirred in the darkness above her, and she froze, listening. A low growl reverberated through the metal floor, vibrating in her bones. With a snort, the creature vanished back into the gloom. As the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, casting long fingers of pale light through the darkness, Jimin collapsed, her back pressed against a cold, damp wall. Around her, the rig groaned, a wounded, dying thing, its breaths echoing in the vast emptiness. The sounds of the hunters echoed around her, a constant, maddening clicking, scraping, dripping. She remembered the girl with the child's doll, the one who'd clutched it so tightly as the creature dragged her down into the darkness. Had they survived? Was anyone else still out there? Or was she alone in this decaying metal tomb? Then she heard it again, that low resonant clicking accompanied by a dragging scrape. From the corner of her eye, she saw a shape emerge from the gloom. It was tall and gaunt, its limbs impossibly thin and sinewy, its head crowned with a tangle of barbed, pulsating tentacles. She wanted to scream, to claw at the darkness, to do anything but sit there and wait. But her hands were pinned to the ground. Terror rooted her in place, a living statue in the face of the approaching horror. The creature loomed closer, and she could make out more details. Its skin was a patchwork of leathery hide and glistening slime, mottled with patches of sickly green luminescence. Tendrils trailed behind it, snaking along the ground, seeking purchase. It stopped a few feet away and raised one of its many limbs, a gesture that seemed to mock her paralysis. Then it spoke. Its voice was a rasping whisper that seemed to slither into her mind. "Why do you not run?" it hissed. "Why do you not flee and hide? Are you not afraid?" Jimin wanted to answer, to tell the creature that she was afraid, that it had her trapped, that she would do anything to escape. But no sound came out. Her fear was a tangible thing, pressing down on her chest, stealing her breath. The creature tilted its head, regarding her with cold, unblinking eyes. "You are foolish," it rasped. "You are prey." It lunged and she cried out, though whether it was in pain or terror, she wasn't sure. Its claws raked across her arms, tearing at her clothes, sending sparks flying as they tore into her flesh. Pain flared, hot and sharp, and she finally moved, thrashing, clawing at the creature, trying to tear its limbs from her arms. It snarled, a sound like nails on a chalkboard, and retreated, watching her with malevolent amusement. Jimin stumbled back, cradling her bleeding arms, her whole body trembling. Blood trickled down her forearms, staining the grime and rust a deeper shade of red. She looked up at the creature, its form outlined against the dim glow of her collar, and she saw something in its eyes. A flicker of curiosity, maybe even wonder. It wasn't just a mindless killer. It was observing her, learning, adapting. The creature took a step forward, then another. And Jimin knew that whatever happened next, she couldn't stay here. She needed to move, to do something, anything to survive. Drawing on reserves of adrenaline and fear, she scrambled to her feet and ran. She didn't know where she was going, only that she couldn't stay where she was. The creature let out a screeching bark and gave chase, its many limbs carrying it swiftly across the uneven terrain. Through the dim glow of her collar, she saw a ladder leading upward. Hope surged through her. She could reach the surface. Maybe she could escape, leave this nightmare behind. She climbed, her bare arms scraping against the cold metal rungs, and the creature followed, its claws scrabbling on the ladder behind her. She risked a glance over her shoulder. The creature was almost upon her, its eyes burning with predatory intent. She burst through the hatch onto the open deck of the rig, gasping for breath. The wind snatched at her clothes, almost pulling her off balance. Below her, the creature snarled, its claws scrabbling on the metal, seeking purchase. She stumbled, falling to her knees, and it lunged.